Hey, Tim here from Candid TV, and I've got this Vizio D-Series TV right here next to me. Today I'm going to show you how to set this up. I'm going to go over the unboxing a little bit, and we're going to cover all the key factors. While the physical setup was actually very simple, the software setup and some of the other things you can do actually took a bit longer than expected. So I figured I'd make this video, and don't worry, I cut it down to as brief as it needs to be. And I'm going to go over with you my tips for setting this up, some of the things you're going to make sure you don't want to miss. So as I said, this is the 40-inch version. You can get this for roughly around $160. You know, obviously it's going to fluctuate a little bit, but it's a great TV for someone on a budget. Now this is native 1080p, so it's not 4K, but honestly, on a TV that's this size or a little bit smaller, 1080p looks pretty darn good anyway. You really don't need 4K. A lot of times on certain display sizes, and when you're talking about like 1080p versus 4K and things like that, you kind of reach a point of diminishing returns. So with this, the 1080p looks really good. I have this set up in the bedroom right now where I'm gonna be about like 7 feet away from this. So it looks pretty sharp and I'm pretty happy with it so far. Now, when I bought this from Amazon, it prompted me, you know, there's a little box you can check, kind of like when you buy their other smart products, that you can have it tied to your account. So that's what I did. If you're getting it on Amazon, I would recommend you do that, because essentially when this was actually shipped and my shipping date was passed, even though I hadn't opened it up yet, I had a notification that came to my phone from the Amazon app that said, you know, do you want to set up your Vizio TV? So that was really nice, because then when I went to hook this up with my Alexa and make it kind of more of a smart TV and be able to control it with my devices, it was just a lot easier to do so. Now, when you power up this TV, Vizio will prompt you to set it up. And there's also a QR code that you can scan as well, like on the box, you know, several places you'll see. As far as physically setting this up though, it was very simple. I basically took it out. You can see the contents of the packaging right here. You get a remote. It's a smart remote. It has, you know, nice controls on there and shortcuts for different apps. You actually do get the 2 batteries with it as well, so that's really nice. And then you get these 2 feet also, which you install on the bottom. There's just 2 screws on either side. It was very simple to set that up. I took this out, I laid it down on my bed. I got the feet installed like I mentioned there, and that's pretty much it then. You have the power cable that's on the back of this, and all you have to do is plug this in. You get 2 HDMI ports. The HDMI 1 is ARC supported. So if you don't know what that means, you can essentially hook that up to like an ARC supported soundbar. And if that also has that feature, you can connect it by HDMI and they essentially communicate. So when you turn the TV on, the soundbar will automatically power on, and they just work together. It's really nice. So that's included in the HDMI port 1. There is also a second HDMI port, but then there's also a USB 2.0 on the back of there, and you have an optical out. So if you want to use that for a soundbar as well, that's another option. In the other area on the back of the TV, you have an antenna option, you've got composite jacks there, and you have a 3.5 millimeter jack for audio. So you can also use that for into a speaker, soundbar. You can, you know, hook up headphones, a Bluetooth transmitter, something like that. But the other thing is this does have Bluetooth. So if you want to hook up, you know, your earbuds or headphones or something like that to this, you know, maybe you don't want to disturb your partner or someone's doing work on the other side of the room, it's pretty neat because then you can hook up by Bluetooth as well. So last thing about the physical features, you can actually wall mount this. It's got a 200 by 200 millimeter VESA mount pattern on the back of this. So when you buy a TV mount nowadays, a lot of times they kind of have a little bit of leeway. Some of them, you know, you can move them around depending on different sizes and they'll accommodate different TVs. So that 200 by 200 pattern though is pretty standard. So if you do want to mount it, that's kind of what you need to know when you're picking out your wall mount. So I'd say within 30 minutes, I had this physically set up, you know, powered on and everything. Let's hop over to the software. I'm going to show you the rest of the setup here. I took some photos and videos throughout, and I'll kind of narrate here what I experienced and about how long this took and all the other important things you need to know. So when you power this on, you're going to get the Vizio logo at first. Then it's going to ask you, you know, your language settings. So I selected English. It does bring up Wi-Fi then as well. A quick note here on the Wi-Fi, because this is what I experienced. So Wi-Fi setup was pretty easy on here as well. It just prompts you and you select your network and put in your password. For this, it was a little interesting because when I was looking at the specs online, it seems like this would be kind of dual band supported with like the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. But when I was doing this, I did not see my 5 gigahertz network. I only saw the 2.4 gigahertz one. So I'm assuming it's just the 2.4 gigahertz that's available. That's kind of the more common one usually that like a lot of your other household devices are going to use. Sometimes that one's not quite as fast, like my 5 gigahertz one's a lot faster. Your 2.4 gigahertz though typically has more range. So if you have this further away from your router The 2.4 gigahertz is better for that anyway, but that's what seems to be included. So then it starts doing some of these updates, as you may expect. It tells you it's doing these updates, and it'll show you kind of the status bar here that you can kind of track. So it did that twice, 2 times it restarted for doing just these regular updates. So after it turned off and restarted the 2 times on that other screen, then we were on this kind of Galaxy screen here. And here it did more of these app updates. So it was kind of the same thing. You can see you get a status bar here. And again, it's updating. And then after that, you'll be able to proceed. So then you'll get this app update notice here. And you guessed it, this is the 3rd time here that it will restart. But good news is that's the last time it does that. So then it'll boot back up and you'll see this screen where it says continue setup on the Vizio mobile app. So there's a QR code there you can use, or you can go to the web and you can basically do it that route. The QR code essentially takes you to the web as you see here. So I scanned that on my iPhone here, and you can see it asks you here if you want to download the Vizio mobile app. So I went ahead and did that. I'll talk to you about here one thing you got to make sure to not confuse yourself with the rest of the setup now, because this kind of interrupts it a little bit. So I downloaded the Vizio mobile app. It asks for kind of the normal permissions and everything that they typically do. And I went through the app setup here and kind of continued that and got that process done. It does say you need to do this for like the stream share feature that they have, which I haven't tested that out or anything yet. Let me know if you want to see that going forward. I can either make a separate video on that or just touch on that in the full review. So you see here then in the app, you can see my 40-inch TV, popping up here. So I select that device, and then you pair that to your account that way. So after clicking on my TV that popped up there, I basically had to put in the pin that was showing on the TV into the app, and it was fully connected. So you can see here then you're able to pretty much do a lot of the remote controls on your phone. You can look up other apps and things like that. So it's kind of nice to have as a backup to your remote. And then as you see here, you can actually like heart your apps and things like that on here as well. So it may be a little bit easier navigating this interface versus the interface on the TV for a lot of people, I think. And this is just what it shows for that Viziogram feature. You can add a friend on here and you can kind of send and receive some stuff. It says instantly give them a gallery. So I guess photos and things like that from your phone. So this is what it showed on the TV, which is kind of confusing then, right? Because we just set up all the stuff on the phone. I did not click setup later, then I went back. So I realized, that was just setting up the app. We still haven't really set up the TV actually itself here. So kind of confusing, but I had to leave the app and go back to the initial prompt I had from like the QR code and that, go back over to, it was actually the web browser. So here then going back to the web browser, that's where I was able to enter this TV code and officially get this thing set up. And then I signed back into my account that I had created on the app. And that is what actually kickstarted and got the ball rolling again on the TV. So it kind of seems like you might be stuck once you get to this point possibly, but basically leave your app and go back over to probably your web browser on your phone. And you see now it says that the TV has been added to my account and it went through the rest of the process here on the TV. So it asks you where this is located. Again, this is a little bit too of an issue going forward. I selected here the primary bedroom. I'm going to tell you why later with Alexa. That kind of became a little bit of an issue, but it's an easy fix. So then they have you agree to all their like terms and conditions here, in order to use their services and use this smart TV. And then here I registered my TV. I gave my name, my email, and my zip code. So then congratulations, you're part of the Vizio family. And then they give you this little promo video to watch. So then they get into kind of like some of the personalization stuff here. They ask you which of these apps do you use the most. So you can kind of go through and pick which ones you like. These are going to be featured more prominently. It's nice because, all the major players for the streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, Max, Prime Video, all that stuff is on here, including, a ton of other apps and streaming services as well. They also ask you what genres you like the most. So again, for personalization and things they may recommend, you probably want to fill that out so that you get something that you're going to like. Pretty cool. After this actually went through, whether it was by chance or not, I selected nature was one of the things I liked. It actually showed me an Australian nature documentary of some, corals and reefs and fish and some things. So it was actually pretty interesting and it was very applicable to me. It was something I was interested in. So that's pretty neat. So the really nice thing is obviously all of your paid apps and everything you can stream through here without having to use the HDMI. It's all just built into this TV interface. But there's also a lot of free content on here. There's like Pluto TV. They have their watch channel with like live TV and movies that are on there. And they're actually pretty decent. There's some kind of like B-list movies on there. But I was surprised at some of the stuff that was on there. And there's some other, documentaries and free TV and things like that, especially, some of your classics and things like that from, the 50s and 60s and black and white TV stuff that's on here as well. So for free content, I'm actually pretty impressed with this. Pluto TV, that app is on here, and they have some other free stuff as well. So if you are someone who just wants to buy this and just use the built-in interface with this, you can cast YouTube from your phone over to this. There's built-in apps for that kind of stuff also. So even if you don't want to pay anything extra on top of, just buying this TV, there's a lot of free services and other streaming things you can do with this TV. For getting this connected to Alexa, as I mentioned, when I bought this, I was able to select the option that I wanted to pair that with my account. So I already had a pop-up that I could just click through and go in and set this up with Alexa. I'll show you some of those screenshots right now of kind of the process. It was basically like 5 steps. It went really quick, but you essentially have to add a skill and connect it to like the Vizio skill. And it just had me select the model of this TV that was popping up and already populated for me. And by stock, it'll just name it whatever you named it here. Like one of the options it gave me when I was going through Vizio and setting up this TV was it had primary bedroom. So I named it primary bedroom. That's what came up in Alexa. And after I set it up, I went back to my devices and you can click edit the name, and I edited it and just changed it to master TV. So that way when you're actually using the smart controls, I'm not saying Alexa turn on primary bedroom when I'm trying to turn on the TV. I'll give you a demo right here. Alexa, turn off the master TV. And you can see it's relatively quick. Alexa, turn on master TV. So it's pretty snappy. It works pretty easily like that. Having that Vizio app is also nice, as I mentioned, because then you can also just manually, you can turn the TV on and off from your phone from a room or two away, even if you don't have it hooked up with Alexa. This also does have AirPlay and Chromecast, which again, I'll get into in the full review, but you don't have to worry about setting up anything with that. That kind of just works automatically once this is powered up and everything's installed. So overall, this is pretty easy to set up and get going. I would just say definitely give yourself maybe like a couple hours. Don't just think you're gonna immediately start watching this. If you're buying this for like a game or something like that, nothing's more frustrating than that. But physically, you can get this up and going, and just get those feet on pretty much and unpacked. But it takes a little bit of time to go through some of those updates, get it set up with your internet and things like that. And then, you're gonna have to log into like all those apps and things. It's pretty easy though, when you actually log in to say like Netflix, Disney Plus, all of that. They typically are gonna give you a code that you can scan with your phone, and then you can complete the process on your phone. If you have those passwords kind of saved onto your phone, it'll prompt you and you can easily log in then. So it's really nice. It's really not as hard as in the past of having to go around and use the remote to navigate and plug in your email and your login and all that stuff. The setup wasn't too hard, just a couple quirks in there, but hopefully watching this video helped and made you get through it a little bit quicker. If you want to pick this up, there is going to be an Amazon affiliate link in the kind of going over more of the apps, what you can get on here. I'll show you some examples of the quality of this. We'll talk about the sound and all that kind of stuff, really do a deep dive. So if you want to see that, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that when it comes out. If that video is already out when you're watching this, it'll be popping up right over here. Please subscribe for some more home entertainment content. Take care, and I'll see you guys on the next one.